Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls because I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like him. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.
I'm KC.
I'm Tyler.
And you're listening to
The Element Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Element Podcast. I'm your host, KC Smith, and I've got Tyler Jones here as well as a plethora of folks in the room. In fact, we might just need to go around the living room and just introduce people. Professional cameraman extraordinaire, Michael Stoll.
Yep.
I'm Brian. Just go by Brian.
You talking about from Family Guy or what?
Just Brian.
Okay.
I'm Greg.
And I'm Broadhead Rick.
Broadhead Rick, that's
Broadhead
him for
Rick.
sure. We've seen some things at Broadhead this week. We are in South Texas doing some fishing, doing some hunting, did we do any gathering at all? I don't think we gathered anything.
Of meat.
Yeah, well, that's back to the hunting, I guess. We did gather some meat. We had to go in and get some. So it's been an eventful week. And I think that really the theme of what we have going on is that, like, man, when you live this, it never stops. You know, like there's some people around that are talking about how hunting season's over, and, man, we're still shooting stuff. I mean, golly, there may have been a whitetail shot this week. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that.
There's been some arrows flung.
There have been some arrows flung. And so you can always find a way to get out there and get after it. Guys, did you expect for this week to be as cool as it is? Jamichael's not answering. He's got some technical difficulties.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Eric.
Man, I had one of the most fun trips I've ever been on, period.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. And you didn't get sunburned.
No.
I'm very thankful.
I kept enough sunscreen on me this week.
Man, you didn't even beat nobody in basketball.
Hey,
Brian was challenging me, but he wouldn't do it.
listen. I have not put paddle to ping yet.
Me neither.
We might have to do that.
No, it ain't.
Post-podcast.
Don't
I
act like
have
that's
to.
going to happen.
I love ping pong.
No, that is not going to happen.
Why?
Because you were just saying how tired you are. We got to get this
But
podcast
I'm
done.
fired up now. All right. I forgot about the ping pong.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to show us how to play jungle pong.
It has been
I
a
ain't doing
busy
it.
week.
Busy
There
week?
wasn't much time where we were all together here at
I
the
like
house
this. I like this guy.
to play ping pong.
Me too.
We
He's
have just
keeping
been
us on track.
gathering.
Me and Jamichael did.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, that's
Eric
the
is
gather
crispy.
part. We're
Eric's got
hunters
some
and gatherers.
A crispy feeling to his
We
voice.
gather together. In fact, there might even be a sign in this house that said, no.
Just,
There's a bunch of basic white girl signs hanging up in this house.
Everything is figure outable.
Yeah.
That's Eric said it.
Is that what it said?
Yeah.
How about that? Yeah. What's the one over the kitchen is best blessed this house and all who enter.
Bless up.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen. Hey, if you're not taking advantage of some of these digital rental apps,
I don't know if we should give this tip away.
man, I think it works. It's a good thing.
Make competition, prices are going to increase.
No, man.
No such thing as free market.
Well, it's not in today's world for sure. But you should take a look at that, because if we all stayed in a ratty motel would take at least 3 beds, comfortably 6. Right now, as far as I know, I go in my room and go to sleep, so I don't know what y'all are doing with your sleeping arrangements too much, but as far as I know, everyone's sleeping in their own spot.
Brian really wants one of us to sleep.
I know,
in his
and I
bed.
don't know how often y'all have obliged to the cuddles.
Nobody's
but-
accepted my invite.
I have seen some pictures.
But we're all sleeping very comfortably for a very, very respectable rate. And I think that even against Tyler's better judgment, we're going to tell people it's a good idea to maybe look around if you're on a hunting trip. Because guess what? Whenever you rest good and you eat good and you get to shower, you perform better. You become peak performance.
We have performed this week.
You're performing.
We have. That's what I feel like, actually, is just a performer on YouTube. Just perform for people like a circus dog. That's all I do. Just
A circus dog, huh?
on demand. On demand, y'all just tell me to do a trick and I do it. You know,
right.
and it's like
Tyler, shoot that deer. Okay.
and it's exactly like it's the same value too. I was thinking about this the other day. I put like lots of effort into editing these things. People don't care. People think I'm a clown, no matter if I work hard at it or not, and they're not nearly as passionate about my hunt as I am. You
Easy,
know what I
Mark
mean?
Kenyon. Okay, but
No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying that I'm just not going to edit anything anymore. Is what I'm saying.
that's a good idea.
Yep.
Just have some real long videos, and
Raw
people
footage, man.
Watch it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool.
Yep.
What all did y'all catch this week?
We caught a lot. Mm-hmm. We ended up catching redfish, trout, flounder, state record piggy perch
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
in large numbers.
Yeah. Y'all didn't catch any ladyfish?
No, not one.
How about
I
that?
think this is probably the first wade fishing trip I've ever gone on and not caught them.
Only
and
men-
I don't know
only
if it's
men fish.
because-
Men fish. Yeah.
because of the cooler weather. But no ladyfish.
The Memphis Blues.
I've been to Memphis before. I actually ate barbecue there.
There's a big pyramid. Yeah.
That's how I got to Memphis.
Oh my goodness. It's just joke after joke. We can't stay on track. It's all right.
All right.
Who cares?
Let's go around the room. If you had to eat one or the other, Nilgai steaks or redfish fillets, how in the half shell.
Nilgai for sure.
Really?
It's not even close.
All right.
I think Nilgai. Yeah.
Nilgai was good, but man, the redfish was good.
I'll probably go with red.
Half shell.
Fish. That's a tough decision
is.
too,
It is.
because they were so good.
Or just eat them both every time.
That's
yeah.
what- that's
The-
the-
we did not use the phrase once. We're terrible at being cliche.
What, game changer?
Surf and turf.
Surf and turf.
Somebody
did
said it.
Huh?
Somebody said it out there.
Did they?
Uh-huh.
I don't
Somebody
remember.
said it.
That
Who
was
said it?
surf and turf.
I don't even know what that is.
Right. That makes sense. That makes
I don't
sense.
remember if I did.
Wait, you don't know what that is? Surf and turf would imply that you're eating a type of animal from both the surf and the turf.
That's clever.
Yeah.
It's usually, in most applications, I think it's shrimp and steak, but not always. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Tasty.
Me too. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We did the old half shell redfish thing, which was cool. I learned how to do that whenever I lived on the coast. You've had it, I guess, at a restaurant, or where have you had it before?
Half shell? Just here and there throughout my life.
It's a tasty thing. And I always found it interesting that redfish were considered kind of a trash fish until about the 50s, when some, I can't remember all the details of this, but some chef, I think in New Orleans, kind of pushed the blackened redfish as a thing.
I might actually have a book by that chef.
Jamie, look that up. But
I prefer Jaime.
I mean, there's so it's like a deal, right? Like they're like treated like carp, pretty much. Like nobody messed with them, and it's kind of weird because they do have big old scales, kind of like a carp. But that is not carp meat that we were eating out there. That is delectable. And it's so simple too, right? It's a neat application because they're so easy to fillet. You just right off, leave the scales on, cook them skin side down. You never flip them. The scales protect the meat, and also like the oil in the fish naturally permeates up through the meat and just absolutely makes it one of the tastiest things there is. Little Tony's, a little butter, a little lemon.
Dang it, I forgot the lemon on mine.
Oh, dude,
Oh.
you missed out. You missed out big time.
You did miss out big time. Yeah.
KC?
Uh-huh.
What's the most interesting thing that you saw on this trip?
Interesting thing that I saw. That would be one green jay, I believe. Would be the most interesting thing. I'm a birder, as you know, so that's a lifer for me. You have to go to South Texas to see green jays, and we happened to see one while we're out looking around, kind of scouting for animals, and all of a sudden I became a birder instead of a hunter. And Tyler was all about it too.
Man, it was awesome. That bird was awesome. Like, the colors were insane.
I'd like to see more of those.
Me too. I think we could if we actually worked at it, but we then started hunting.
It's like a lot of our well-intentioned things we do. We have like this utilitarian mentality when we take trips. We want to try to maximize. Like, oh, we have to go to Colorado. We might as well go a day early and fish over here or something, and just that's how you end up real tired with a lot of wrinkles.
Yep.
But then we end up just hammering down on the hunting and not getting to do quite as much as of the other stuff as what you might like. But, I do love to hunt, so I'm not complaining too much about.
Michael, what about you?
The most interesting thing I saw? Prickly pear on the beach.
Yeah.
That was weird to see.
Yep. I saw some tonight. I was thought the same thing. I didn't think it was super weird because I've seen it, but like I thought, man, that's right on the beach.
It's
Like,
notable.
right
That was
on it.
weird.
For sure.
Brian?
I think there was a lot of interesting things. So you get to this country in South Texas, and it looks so rugged and rough, and you wonder how something can even live in it. And it's so rich in wildlife. It's always interesting to me to look at that country and think that nothing could live in it, and you just see wildlife everywhere. So I think one of the coolest things I did see, though, was osprey. I don't see them very often, and has always been a bird that's interested me. So
I noticed something about osprey this week. I haven't heard this, so it might be, just a coincidence type deal. But it seems like osprey always turn their catch aerodynamically when they fly.
makes sense.
Anytime you see an osprey flying, it's not like a bald eagle with a salmon. It's crossways. They fly with the mullet head facing forward. They like turn their feet.
Did you see some flying with mullet? Mm-hmm. Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, we also saw Caracaras fight to the death today. You remember that?
Yeah, they got weird
That
about
was
it.
weird.
Do you ever see osprey up near home?
Lake Fork every once in a while.
I don't think I've that I can remember ever seeing them.
Yeah.
It's something worth noting when you see them, for sure.
Yeah. When I lived on the coast, I saw them a whole bunch, so I kind of don't think too much about them anymore. But, yeah.
They're cool.
They are neat
Fish
birds.
hawks. Mm-hmm. They have success rates as high as 70% sometimes.
I believe it.
Really?
When they dive 70% of the time, they up to 70% of the time they can come up with a fish. It's wild.
Greg?
I have to go with stingrays. I've never seen stingrays before.
Yeah. It's
It
cool.
was interesting. Almost stepping on them, and
I poked one with a fly rod tonight.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They're cool.
That's cool.
I like them.
Oh, am I up?
I reckon.
Rojo panda.
Probably what I saw in the HEB parking lot today riding a bike.
Oh my god.
Oh, my. I haven't heard this story.
He said hi to it too.
You talking about the Fuji gorilla?
Yeah, we won't go into details about that. But the first morning,
So that's not the answer? That's not your answer?
no.
Okay.
But it was interesting for sure.
All right.
First morning, we all went to try to find a good fishing spot. And where we went, we saw multiple whitetail bucks on the beach.
Good ones.
And that
Forgot
was
about that.
pretty interesting.
It's cool.
whitetails on the white sandy beach is interesting.
Yeah, it's neat. Tyler?
3 million ticks.
I thought about that too. Because interesting is a broad term,
Yeah.
right? Could be something that interests you, or it could be something that's like, oh, man,
I think actually though, chachalacas,
they're cool. Birds are neat, man.
the old Central American pheasant.
What's it called? A chocolate bird?
Yep.
Chocolate.
Chachalaka or chakalaka, I don't really know for sure. I've never heard anybody for sure pronounce it. Have you heard chachalaka mostly?
I just like calling them that. People don't talk about them. I mean, it's not.
No, yeah,
you
no.
don't hear people talking about them,
I
so
know.
it's not like, what, circus dog or something. People talk about all the time.
That's right. So
Chachalakas are raucous.
we came down here to do some hunting and, of course, do some fishing. We got both of them done. Tyler, tell me about the hunting down here.
I would say, you and I went hunting. There's a lot of different things like Brian mentioned earlier. There's so much wildlife and diversity down here. I mean, at some point, you stop seeing a whole lot of freezes happen when you start heading south in Texas, and you get to this, country where things can live. Almost. You even get to almost like a subtropical climate where there's not many freezes, and it's also like no hotter than it is where we're from. Really, it's still just same hot or whatever, as they say.
Yeah.
So, you got like a ton of different animals. You have a lot of bird migration that come through here. You've got, as they mentioned, we got, bunch of fish in the sea. And so, like, if you're just asking generally about hunting down here, then it's there's lots of opportunity depending on where and what you're doing, I guess.
And we had access to a place that you could hunt a lot of things, but we were after deer and this thing called a Nilgai, which you alluded to a while ago. And it sounds as if there is a hypothetical Nilgai steak floating around that we've talked about. So
Yeah.
maybe that will come into fruition.
I mean, we got access because it's public land.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like we're on a ranch down here or anything. We have been down here hunting some public land for deer, like Casey mentioned, and Nilgai are a byproduct of what can happen. And so, yeah, we just been deer hunting down here in January because it ain't over yet.
What are the deer doing down here right now?
They're kind of in a post-rut phase where you see some lockdown happening. It's not really lockdown, what we've seen at least, but it's more like it's like a very close dynamic between bucks and does, where you'll have like a nice buck that just is following does, but maybe 20, 30 yards behind them, but just locked into them. You know what I mean? And just shadowing them, as KC said.
What did y'all see when you said you saw those bucks on the beach? Did it look more like the real lockdown type deal?
No, that's
Look
pretty much
like
what he was saying.
Early
I feel like.
November in East Texas.
Just kind of following them around?
No, they were following them. We've seen some bucks possibly fighting and pushing each other off. It was really cool. Don't look at me like that.
I remember seeing that part.
I remember we were driving and y'all said one buck went over to where another buck was, and then we turned around and came back, and they're both going their separate way, like they had possibly just fought. We did see one buck bedded down right next to a doe, within 10 yards, and usually, that's a good sign.
I think they're with them super close, but I didn't see them. We didn't see bucks like pushing does into weird places and just locking them down or anything. Or
were they running does?
No,
No.
we didn't see any running.
Around them.
Lots of cruising still. We have such a. I mean, obviously this is like from home. It's this way, but it's even the more south you go, probably even more this way. But like we have such a kind of, it's not an intense winter climate, so the shoulders of the rut are just way more sloping. You know, there's way more gentle slope. We don't have just like a week where it goes nuts, but instead, you know, the window that fawns can be born in is pretty much year round, and so you know
That is weird to think about.
they don't have to be bred in 1 week so that it, you know, isn't too late and isn't too early or whatever.
Yeah. It's weird how parts of Texas have just weird rut dates that, when I say rut dates, I mean peak breeding dates, that almost don't make a lot of sense. You know, like these habitats are similar, but things will change quite a bit. I mean, some parts of South Texas are January, and some parts of South Texas are September for
Yeah.
peak breeding, which is really strange. But at the same time, just like what you're saying, pretty much any time of the year that it's cooler months, you can end up seeing some sort of rutting activity. So we were kind of trying to capitalize on that a little bit, especially after what y'all said you saw the first morning that y'all were out running around. Was that the first morning that we saw the big buck? No.
No, we ran into a young Nilgai bull, and then we ran into a rut fest Nilgai,
Oh, rager.
and then we also saw some deer. I think they were does.
That's
kind of
right.
late in the morning, like
That's right.
11 o'clock or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, man, it was weird. There was like a late morning movement thing going on, and I don't know if it's just like a low pressure thing or a high pressure thing or a moon thing or what. What do you think?
I feel like that the last couple of days we didn't see nearly as much late movement in deer, and I think that maybe we were hunting way back in, and I think that maybe it was low pressure until we made it high pressure, and that caused the whitetail to kind of turn off their late movements. But I think that Nilgai move late sometimes because they come from extremely hot climate. They can't really survive long freeze periods, so they prefer hot temps. And so when it gets sunny in the middle of the day, we were seeing like increased movement.
Yeah, we had one day whenever we had a weather change type day. Wind got right out of the north and it didn't get cold, but it was cooler and it was cloudy, and we didn't see a Nilgai the rest of the day as soon as that happened.
Today it was kind of foggy, and as soon as the sun just got bright and you started going like, I need to take the sweatshirt off, I'm hot, we started seeing Nilgai. And then yesterday we saw a bull whenever,
We did.
I mean, right before the clouds broke.
Yeah, and then the day before it was sunny the whole day, and there was Nilgai bedding down in the middle of the open out there in the field, just eating and playing around and
Yeah,
doing
it's
their
like,
thing.
wow, like surely they're going to get up because they're hot, but they're not.
No,
Yeah,
they're strange critters.
they are, man.
Yeah, they're neat.
They're Indian antelope. They're from India, not Native American.
Yeah, no, the natives wouldn't think about a Nilgai running around down here.
No, they
the
wouldn't.
Kronkwas would be like, "What is going on?"
Yeah,
But
they'd be extinct like bison.
yeah, they would. So we had kind of a late rut, post rut type thing going on. You and I hunted together a lot this week, kind of filming each other while these guys went and did some fishing and filming and stuff. Michael, you haven't got called Michael in a while. You didn't even
haven't.
list that one a while ago.
That was like February.
That's Eric's like thing, man. That's
Yeah.
what he calls you.
Forgot about it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to it.
You have that's Michael in your phone, isn't it? Isn't that his name? Did you change
No,
it?
It's just Michael.
Oh, he changed. It was Michael.
It's
and he
just
changed-
Michael?
Just Michael.
That's not even a
him
name
mad.
for him, is
Yeah.
Yeah, he's old man
It's just
gentry
like-
in mine, so.
Oh man,
Baby. OMG, baby, let's go.
That's what I am in yours.
Yeah.
Dadgum.
golly, dude,
Golly, dude.
that's funny. Michael was the cameraman this week for the fishing escapades.
Oh, he was the cameraman?
Huh?
I thought he was the bellyacre
He belly?
because of the Georgia thing.
Oh, that's true.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
No, we are talking
No,
about
Michael
this,
kind of looks
actually.
like Stetson Bennett. I don't know if y'all know that.
He's like 65. I do not look like him.
They
Oh, yeah,
do.
you got his feet.
Oh my god!
Okay, I'll take
Old
that.
man feet. Old Stetson Bennett feet.
That's it. It's hard being an OSU fan, man.
It
Your
is.
teams
man.
are bad. Everybody dogs
team's
on you.
just
Well, here's
care.
here's the thing about being Ohio State,
Not
an
Oklahoma.
Ohio State fan, is that every year you do so well in the Big 10 and you think you got the best team in the world because all the sports guys talk about how good the Big 10 is because they're all from
They get the
up
sweater
there in the
vest
north.
out, put it on.
That's exactly
talk
what
about
they
it.
do.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you feel like coming out of the Big 10, like, oh gosh, dude, we crushed some people. And really, there was like one other team that was any good in the Big 10, and you had a close game with them.
Just so
but won
happens they
it or
went
whatever.
0-2 in the playoff this year.
Yeah, and then from that point, you go to the playoffs, and you're just really your spirits get crushed. Really,
Clowns is what they call them, I think.
yeah.
Clowns. No, we
Getting
call
him now.
the
We're getting
kicker
him
a
riled up.
clown.
Oh, dang, turn it on your own. I see
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah, he needs to make a kick. It's his job. Come on. We don't even
And
talk about
just
this.
think if the quarterback would have played better, you wouldn't have been in that position.
Yeah, but you would think that dude's entire job is to kick a ball.
Dude.
You'd think he could do it.
The QB's entire job is to complete a pass. What was his passer rate?
Listen, Michael,
It was good.
62%, 63%?
if there's anything
lighting
I could agree with you on, I think that kickers aren't dumb. I think kicking is dumb.
Do you want to take it out of the game?
I think it should be taken out of the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Taken out of the game.
Would we still call it football?
Why should we have one guy come in who hasn't been in at all the whole game, and he either gets to win or lose the game for all the guys who are blood, sweat, and tears out
What would
there?
you call it? What would you call the game?
What would you call the game?
Yeah, it can't
You don't
be
call
called
it football
it can't be
because the
called
kicker's in the game.
Well, because
a
your
couple
foot
times.
touches the ball.
Well, you still
But so do
got
your
a lot.
hands.
Yeah, but the
Your hands
reason it's
touch the
called
ball
football
way
is
more than
because
a foot does.
Because they kick it.
No.
Yeah,
That's
why
not
else
why
would-
it's called football.
It has to be. Why else would they
It
call it
can't
football?
be.
It
They
starts
barely
with the
ever kick
of a
it.
ball.
Yeah,
That's how it changed possessions. Like
Yeah, it's football with a foot.
But you only touch the ball with a foot a couple times a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could have called it handball, and it would
You're
have been
just
more
saying
appropriate.
getting rid of field goals, right? You would still
And
kick
punts.
off.
I don't think kickoffs are important either. They've literally
punts?
they've gotten rid of kickoff. The whole meaning of
they
kickoff.
basically have.
Nobody ever runs kickoffs because they moved them up so far. It's like a formality that's stupid.
What about punts?
Punts. What about them? What are you asking?
Would we still have punts?
Would we still have punts? I don't think kicking needs to be in the game, but I don't have like a huge problem with punts. I think kickoffs are stupid because nobody ever runs them back, and I think that a guy should not come in at the end of the game to win or lose the game for an entire team of dudes that have been playing the whole game.
Or
I
just
think
practice
if they're going to kick it, then maybe they should have like somebody who's been playing the whole game do it instead of some guy who's cold and looks nothing like anybody else in that field.
I do like. I'm not a DH fan, so I like that idea. Somebody who's already been in the game has to kick it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that makes sense. That makes sense to me. I still like the kicking game though.
I mean, I played all the kicking positions, or not positions, but however you want to say that. I played
Special
kickoff,
teams.
return, and punt and return. But and it's fun. It's super challenging, especially I was frontline kickoff return guy. You want to talk about a hard position when we actually returned kicks? Be a front dude on front middle. We had me and the other biggest safety we had were the guys that are in the front middle, and you have to run. You have to wait to make sure they don't onside kick it, right? So you can't leave early. And then you have these guys who are 4.5, 235s, 240s running at you. They're second team linebackers that are mad they haven't been in the game.
They want to hit something.
And they want to just run you over to prove to their coach that they should be in the game, right? And so they're literally running 7 yards behind you the whole time, and you have to turn around and flip and like run backwards at the same speed they're running forwards and like receive the blow, not get knocked off your feet, and then redirect. And if you can do that well, you're doing it. And that's what we did. We got to where we could do it pretty well too, but that was later in the season.
Probably the least glorious position too is to be on kick return, like blocking.
Oh, dude, giant 2 linebackers, man, just terrible people.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so we should definitely reconsider the kicking game in football for sure. And I could care less if we call it football, by the way. Too.
Yeah, what do you want to call it? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I would think you could call it Bennett ball or something like that. Maybe.
That's a good idea.
I think Michael would think
Yeah.
that was a pretty good idea.
Yeah, dog ball.
Dog ball. Give
think
us your
kickers
best bark.
don't practice
Give us your best bark.
Do the bark.
Is this an Ohio State bark
This
or
is
for Georgia?
Let's do both.
How are they different?
We'll start
Okay,
with Georgia.
so-
Start with Georgia.
It's more like a.
Okay.
That's Georgia.
Okay, hold on. Let him do it.
In
Eric.
Ohio
Do it
State,
again. Do it
it's
again.
more like a.
Look at his face.
His lips fall off when he does
Maybe the
that.
best one.
Do the Georgia again.
I've never heard
Gotcha.
a bulldog bark like that.
Well, they're not really bulldogs. They just call themselves that.
Are y'all not really Buckeyes?
No, we're really Buckeyes.
Buck guys.
Yeah.
Buck guys.
Buck guys. We're Buck guys. Tyler's Buck guy.
Wasn't that your old YouTube channel?
Yep.
Buck guys.
The Buck guys.
That's it. No, that was actually just the dough guys.
Yeah. Well, hey, I've been there, man. I've been
Yeah,
there.
for sure.
Some years you're glad to be dough guys. Some years you just can't get it done.
Man, so speaking of get it done, you shot a doe on the ground in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Way to go, man.
Thanks, man.
I didn't do that. I hadn't killed anything since November 8th. What a loser. So from then, you have not hung in a tree for over a month and have hunted quite a bit. Right?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Since then, you're saying? Mm-hmm. It hasn't been a month since then, though.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
What did you kill that deer?
I think it was on it was like day 6 or 7 of the hunt, wasn't it? And we started on the 8th.
Yeah, around about a month. But a lot of ground hunting in there is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So, hunting from the ground is one of those funny things that kind of gets grouped into like just this one deal. What?
Mark Kenyon would be good at this, too.
Would he?
Yep, grouping.
Grouping, yeah, for sure. He's a groupie. But really, there's a lot of intricacies to ground hunting. There's a lot of different things about it. Greg, you've spent a good amount of time hunting from the ground, and a lot of yours is ambush style, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay hidden and ambush them at 25 yards.
Is that where your like stillness comes from?
Yeah. You got to be still to hunt ambush style on the ground.
It's true, man. It is true.
Not easy.
No. And then there's like spot and stalk type stuff that we do out west sometimes. But this week was, I don't know, it's a kind of a mixture of the two. What do you call it? It's like make moves, right? And then I think that we kind of like
You
set
mixing,
up,
what 2 things are you mixing?
kind of like mixing spot and stalk and ambush.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're hunting brush country stuff where there's like the ability to weave in and out and kind of stay hidden and move locations, but you're still kind of ambushing at the same time. And it works pretty good whenever you can stay hidden. And then at any point in time, it will translate into one or the other of those types of hunts. So like, for instance, I did a spot and stalk on a Nilgai and got spotted on the stalk at about 55.
It happens.
It happens. It happens a lot. It ain't easy. When you're crawling on your hands and knees across the marsh, sooner or later they're going to spot your booty sticking up in the air because it hurts. And that happened to me.
The booty hurt?
No, my knees hurt, though, for sure. But at the same time, we were setting up for something like that, and then what?
I said your booty hurt, and you said my knees hurt, but Michael made a funny face. That's why I laughed.
He does that a lot. You successfully completed an ambush.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yep. Is that a question?
That's a
Okay.
throw it to you.
I got you.
Yeah. The art of conversation. You just continued on.
I just, yep. It's weird when you got 4 people looking at you, you know? I did successfully ambush something. We're sitting in some tall grass that we had seen some deer do the splits by the other day. Actually, I stalked. I did one of those spot and stalks that you talked about, where you get spotted on the stalk. I did that the day before and got spotted by.
That was
the biggest buck I've ever had a chance at in Texas.
That was the make moves type deal.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they were moving, so you were moving.
Yeah, I had I needed to gain over 100 yards probably. And I got all the way to this dude. I had to wait till the does got by. He was shadowing these does, and I got all the way to him, where I needed to be. And I was set up. I ranged this yucca. When I say yucca, we're talking about like a 8-foot yucca, tall. I ranged it at 54, and I set my pin to 50. And he starts to walk out, and he literally like turns his head, and within a half second he takes off running. Like there was no hesitation at all. It was weird because like usually we get spotted in the open, we at least get a hesitation of a few seconds, and it was not even a second.
You didn't even have time to draw, right?
No, I never drew.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally, like, as soon as he looked over, he saw me. I was in some tall grass. I was on the edge of it. But at the same time, like, I shouldn't have been silhouetted or anything, and was being still. And I thought I was being still at least. And he just took off. Maybe he saw my hand moving, my arm moving or something. I don't know. But anyway, it was just surprising to me that he didn't, like, look and try to figure me out. He just took off.
You brought
a big buck.
A interesting thing about that, talking about the shadows.
Yeah.
How you think that shadows give you away a lot on the ground.
Yeah,
in those
I think
situations.
sunny days are super tough for spot and stalks type stuff sometimes. Well, open country, like just because like you get into like a grassland habitat, all your shadows are the size like a finger and less, and they're broken. Right. And then all of a sudden there's this dude who's got like, whatever size the shoulders are on a dude casting a shadow that's 1.5 feet wide or whatever, or has the dark side, shadowed side of him that's not broken up. And it doesn't matter like what camo you have on or anything. I mean, you're casting a giant shadow. So I felt like it was kind of obvious that there was a big object there that didn't exist anywhere else around. So now there are yuccas around, but not where I was. I was on the edge of those yuccas, out away from them.
Yeah. You know what else, too? I think this has kind of come to light for me this year a lot. But we are fooling ourselves like pretty heavily if we don't give the deer enough credit for them to have the landscape memorized.
Oh, yeah, especially right there.
Yeah.
There was a hardcore trail that deer was on.
They go down it every day of their life, or a whole lot, and they don't live as long as we do, but their whole existence is to survive so they can breed.
Dude.
And they do their best to survive.
And it's weird, if you and I go into a spot like multiple times, we will go past the same trees when I'm walking behind you. I mean, you like just go to the same spot. It's like you remember the way in and how you did it and everything. You go the same way every time. And I just feel like if you can do that, the deer for sure can do that.
For sure. But the contrary to that is that we had this yucca that we kept calling the crossbow hunter because we kept on seeing this thing out in the pasture and had the profile of a guy standing up with a crossbow in his hand.
Oh, it had a head, it had a crossbow, man, everything.
And we still, even though we knew that was there, would still be like, oh, what? Like catching in the corner of your eye and think there's a dude out there. And so, like, we aren't as good at it as they are. They're real good at it. Like, they know that's not a crossbow hunter when they see it.
They was an upright hunter.
That's right. But I guess kind of to bring that back around to your stalk, like I was filming you, and you didn't look like you stood out too bad. And I think it was just because that deer has a mental picture of what it should look like where you were, and it was different. And he said, "No thanks."
Yeah, well, it's public land too, so who knows who's been back there hunting, and how many people he's seen, because he's a really nice buck. But anyway, that grass that I had to move to, this tall grass I had to move to get to him, we started to kind of snoop around and figured out, like, this is where a lot of deer are coming. So we end up getting in the grass and the next morning, and we're sitting there and we got bucks right off. Like, we get in early, right? We decided we'd been getting in too late. We're going to get in early. We get in there in the dark. We set up, and it just starts to get light up to where I can glass stuff like 100 yards. I start seeing deer. Long story short, we see, I think, a couple of bucks. They get into kind of a doe rut fest, and 2 does, I think, got weird or something because of us early on, and they worked their way over to this rut fest and then started flagging for some reason. Like,
Those are weirdos, man.
15 minutes after they had left us hundreds of yards away, they start flagging and getting weird over there. They hadn't flagged when they smelled us or saw us or whatever happened. Anyway, mess the whole thing up, take everything, carry them back into the woods, way away from us. And we're like, dadgummit. So we sit down, kind of rest our backs and legs, and we're sitting like on 2 sides of this bush on the shady side. And we're close. We're within probably like 4 yards of each other, but not right next to each other in these little holes in the grass. Well, I'm sitting there and I'm like, start to hear something. I'm like, what is this? It's like, is this a bird or something? And you don't say anything at first to your buddy because you don't want to be the guy who's always like, oh, I think I hear something, or whatever. Because then your buddy never believes you. It's the boy who cried wolf, right? Well, so I listened to it for a while, and so it starts, like, it sounds big, and I start to hear it even better, and I look over at KC, and I'm like, hey, I think I hear something over here, dude. And so I kind of get up on my knees, super quiet, still pretty early. It's like probably 8 o'clock, maybe not quite, maybe a little bit later than 8. And I get up on my knees, and I start to look in this grass, tall grass right beside me. I can't see any big animal, right? I'm looking for minutes, and finally I don't hear it for a while, so I kind of like sit back down on my haunches, and I basically kind of start hearing the noise again and peek over, and KC at this point has kind of lost interest in the thing too, and I hear the noise again and peek over, and I see a rack like really close in, like, just above the grass at 20 yards. And he's like getting closer, and I'm like, I don't know. KC can probably tell what I said to him better. He loves this part.
It's funny. There's an intensity that you have to convey in moments like this, because if you don't, then the other guy might be like, oh, where's the deer at? And he's like 20 yards, right? So you have to convey this. Now, Tyler does
kind of a don't move thing,
Okay, I'll just say how it went. So I'm like messing around, I don't know, fiddling with a stick or something, and Tyler goes,
"Is it fiddlestick?"
Yeah. Funny enough, it's called a bow. Tyler says, "Don't move. Do not move." Probably even more intense than that. And there's a buck right here.
Freaked me out, dude.
Freaked me out too. And
like, we're in open country, and this deer's 18 yards from me.
Snuck up on us, dude. And we're just around this bush, just like, oh my goodness. And I can't see it at all, which was the funny part where Tyler's like, tell me don't move. I was like, dude, I don't.
Dude, jumping jacks over here behind this
for real,
bush.
I could be rolling around and you wouldn't even know. But that was the cue for me to go into cameraman mode at that point in time.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't no way I was going to shoot this thing, and I was really hoping you would.
Yeah.
So did a little filming.
Yeah, so I finally kind of got my bearing on what he was doing a little bit, where he was at, and I kind of turned around. I ducked down a little bit, turned around real slow to KC, and realized he was filming. So I never told you like you could move or anything.
Yeah, because normally we were like, you let the guy know, but I took the civil liberty of saying, this deer can't see me. I'm going to go ahead and move.
Yeah.
So y'all don't do that, okay? I was willing to accept the repercussions. And
you do see pretty well, so you see a lot of things. But anyway, so the buck is like just fiddle sticking around right there, and he's got I can see his top of his head and his antlers and stuff, and I can see him eating grass and stuff, and I see this gap in between these big, huge like switch grasses, and he's kind of like in the middle of that thing, and I ranged this yucca at 19 yards, and he's like in front of it, and I'm like, dadgummit. And I think he's like kind of going, he was going left to right when we first saw him, and now he's kind of like going right to left. And so basically, like I see his shoulders come in to the gap, and I draw back, and then I'm like, I cannot see him very good. I need to get a better look. I stand up, and I barely can see him even better, but I can see what his silhouette is, I feel like. And
I can't.
I think I asked KC if he was ready or something, and basically shot. And he just jumped straight up in the air out of the grass, like straight up, not like mule kick, leaning forward or nothing. He was like Jack in the Box looking thing. And he's got a hole the size of a baseball in his neck. And I was really surprised, but I think what ended up happening is he was coming left to right, and we found this out later when we went and looked for the arrow, but the trail like dead ended and came right to us, and he might have been coming to bed at near us. But in long story short, I ended up shooting this deer in the neck instead of the shoulder. I was trying to shoot through both shoulders and get because these are small deer. These are tiny, basically coastal deer, right? Gulf Coast plain deer. And anyway, he runs really fast for about 10 yards and then just starts to pile up.
Wild.
I mean, died so quick it wasn't even funny. And we were just like in shock. It's really cool deal. He's just a super nice representative of the species, not a huge deer, but like a good solid deer for this area. Pretty much a 7. He's got a G3 on one side's, a point, but it's not like measurable, I guess. So, I don't know. I was stoked.
Congrats, dude.
Thanks, dude. I got
cool buck, man.
Got to shoot another public
like
land
you were
buck
saying,
this year.
he has the South Texas look, a really like what's that color, like auburn, or like what's that color of his head? It's like kind of a chocolatey brown, but with a little bit of red,
super dark, and it's got like a lot of red around the sides of it and stuff. Yeah, just like, I don't know, like a deep amber or whatever. Mm-hmm. I mean, just really, really cool South Texas looking buck with the dark head and everything. Mm-hmm. And really interesting. It looks like the deer had been hit by a car potentially. I thought he'd been shot because he had just a quarter-sized hole with no hair on it on one side. When I flipped him over, he actually had 2 on the other side. And then one of his hooves had these weird like scrapes that had healed up on it. So I think he might have been hit by a car or something. It was weird.
Or he got caught in a fence. I just thought about that.
I thought about that too.
Yeah.
Because I thought about that when I saw his hoof. Mm-hmm. But I just was like, oh, how did his fur get all messed up like that? I don't know.
But we actually saw a deer the day before. We saw a deer with a limp at distance.
Yeah, he was limping. Yep. That's another thing I noticed when I saw him coming in or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, anyway, I was really surprised that the shot didn't just blow through the shoulders, but I think he had like turned towards me or something like that. So definitely, blessed to have made a super lethal shot. But
yeah,
we actually packed him up and put him all in one bag.
Yeah,
one pack, right?
Yeah, you carried the.
Did I carry all of it?
I
carried 4 quarters.
I had the back straps in mine, which are small.
I carried 4 quarters and the head, and carried it in one of the First Light packs that we have. It's not even like a frame pack, and carried him out. That's how small they are,
Yeah.
But got him out, and then we realized that the fellers were fishing fulls.
Slaying.
At this point. Brian, tell us how you became such a good fisherman.
Man, what do y'all want to know?
I wanna
you
know-
want the whole fishing story.
I just
What
want
was
to know.
your first fish, Ryan?
Yeah.
My first fish, I couldn't remember.
I'm not surprised.
I don't know. When I was younger, I grew up on Tawakoni, so my grandparents lived there, and I lived with them, most of the time. And I did a lot of fishing as a young child.
Tawakoni is like a food, or
It is a Indian tribe.
you grew up on
Tawakoni?
an Indian tribe?
They made a lake.
Yeah.
No, so
How they do that?
just shovels.
Stone tools.
What my first fish was.
Okay, so my question for you is actually, tell us about. I want to hear about the like how you ended up finding some fish, because the first morning y'all kind of struggled a little bit.
We
and
did.
what changed after that? Because you caught a pretty big trout right off the bat, right?
So let's go back to talking about where we were going. I kind of got on some maps and was looking for some public access wade fishing. I knew the water would be pretty clear and it'd be a good fishing trip.
What maps unit were you using? What system?
We got on some Onyx maps.
How about
and
that?
Did some snooping around.
It's not even Onyx Hunt. It's Onyx Fish, huh?
It's Onyx
Yeah.
Fish.
How about that?
When
So
you're looking for
without
fishing.
giving anything away about location, how are you able to find something that's public access? What are you looking for on X?
We did a public access beach area, and then we did a public access boat ramp for our
boat-
accesses.
Are you using the little logo that shows that there's a boat launch there, or how you?
So it's actually the boat ramp was labeled and the public access beach was labeled.
Oh, that's cool.
On there. I think it was an umbrella on the beach was their little logo.
Got you.
So,
Yeah.
and that was when we were driving down here. The first area that we went to, it was a big grass flat, massive grass flat. And as soon as we got out there, I noticed there wasn't much difference in anything out there. It was all the same depth, real thick grass, hard bottom, and
Eric dredged some of it out for y'all.
Oh yeah.
we're going to
He
get
pulled
to
some
that.
of the grass out
We
for y'all
gotta
to-
save that for here in a second.
It was not that morning.
He was trying to make some kind of bald spot depressions.
He-
and stuff.
Eric said not that morning.
dredged
It was
this
still that morning.
No, it
whole
wasn't.
area.
That's no.
Yes.
Look, we had a
It's on video.
15-minute video.
I'll get to that.
There's video.
We're going to get there. And so we were actually fixing to leave, and we pulled up the maps, got on Onyx Maps, and started looking. And just to the east of us was a dredged area that this boat ramp was using, private boat ramp was using. And so we decided to go fish in it. And the very first cast into this dredged area, I caught a really good trout. We ended up fishing it for a little while and caught, what else did we catch?
Eric caught a red,
Big old
A
red.
red that morning.
What'd you catch it red on, Eric?
which is ironic.
Texas rig,
A Texas rig what?
plastic worm,
Plastic worm.
and that's why I was using
starting
there.
a revolution.
He did pull some fish out on the Texas rig worm this week.
That was your first redfish.
It was.
What did it look
first
like?
coastal
How many
fish.
spots did it have?
Like 4.
Had a
Four
bunch,
on the
didn't
side,
it?
yeah.
Yeah,
One on
that's
the
cool
still
looking.
on-
Are you
on
going to
the
get a
side.
replica made?
Yeah.
You are.
No.
Wow.
Really?
That'd be cool, huh?
It would be cool, especially with all the spots on it.
Little did he know he was about to catch 100 more.
So y'all had a lot.
We did. We switched some things up. We kind of used what we learned from that first spot to find another spot. And
So I was trying to find dredges or ditches or whatever.
we started looking for grass flats with something different in them, and it dredged areas, sand spots, stuff like that. Just something different within these massive flats, and we found them. And from then on, we caught a lot of fish on just about anything we could throw at them.
Greg, what were you catching fish on?
I was catching on just any kind of swim bait. I caught the first couple I caught on live bait mullet, but
Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, y'all had trouble finding bait, didn't you?
Yep, we did.
Yeah.
We And both spots that we went to, the first
Well,
spot
the first
actually
spot
had
I
quite a bit of
caught
bait
quite a few mullet with a cast net.
until we wanted to fish with it, then it disappeared.
Yep.
But the spot we caught all the fish in, we had a hard time finding smaller finger-sized mullet. There was scattered large mullet throughout these grass flats. And when I say large, I'm talking 12 to 14-inch mullet. There wasn't a lot of smaller mullet.
Dude, isn't it crazy how big mullet can get? Yeah. Some of them suckers jumping around out there are the size of your leg, it
Redfish,
seems
they're-
like.
Yeah,
Man, they got to be
they're
tasty
big.
smoked or something,
think?
don't they?
Maybe.
I don't want to try.
If
Do you
you
wanna be
tried
that guy?
mullet, send us a message. We, wanna know
We
what
got
it
some
tastes
questions.
like.
And not just roe. We want to know about the meat. Because mullet roe is a thing, but like I want to know about that meat.
Is it really?
What's mullet
Yeah.
roe?
Caviar.
Yeah, like the eggs. It's roe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually watched a video on that the other day.
Did you?
You watch a lot of videos.
They were talking about how expensive it is overseas.
Really?
Yeah.
Man,
How do
I
we
wish-
ship
The
it there?
mullet caviar, and it was
Maybe
like,
I should get into a
wow,
new
I didn't know it was
industry.
a thing.
Dude, they're gross.
Eric,
I
tell
can't do that.
us about your experience because I know you and Brian don't see eye to eye very often.
Man, I was just I've never coastal fished at all. I've fished my whole life, but basically for bass and catfish.
Bass
So,
and cats.
Like,
Bass cat.
for most of the time, I was just throwing whatever I wanted at these fish. And there was one day, like the cloudy, rainy afternoon, I think like just cast after cast, I was catching fish. It was
Cast and
wild.
catch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good name.
The worst part of this trip was having to carry a stringer full of fish out of the surf, walk it a half a mile down the beach to the truck, and you have a.
I thought you were going to say the worst
50-pound
part was
stringer.
going to Walmart with Eric every day.
No, it was having to fish with Eric and
Oh,
have him
jeez.
set the hook and all your trash.
I caught a lot of grass this week.
Yeah.
you?
You're
That's
just salad
good.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, that's where
Not
they're at.
only
You know?
catch
I
the
mean-
grass, set the hook as hard as possible. and like I'm the camera guy,
His
so I'm like
drag is
panning
so
to him every
loose.
time.
It was every
Hear
cast.
the drag stripping.
Every cast, he's like, oh,
False
It
alarm.
eventually gets to the point we don't even turn around anymore.
He probably had a really interesting trip. I mean, it probably had a lot of excitement, didn't you, Eric?
Yeah. There's a few times they're like, I got one, and no one's looking. I'm like, I got one. Definitely.
Boy who cried wolf.
That's
Boy who
what.
cried
Yeah.
wolf.
Earlier when you said that, me and Brian looked at each other.
The boy
He
who cried wolf.
wolf 1,000. I'm not exaggerating.
He's not.
1,000 times.
The boy
Who
who
wins the award of most improved fisherman this week?
I don't know.
Nobody. That means you're not
I
a very
feel
good
like-
I don't
fisherman.
I feel like I was
I
pretty
feel
good
like I
I don't
already.
feel like Eric improved at all. So it has to be Greg. Eric is as bad as on day 5
Has to
as
be
he
Greg,
was
huh?
day 1.
Real question. Like,
Finally.
who did catch the biggest fish? Because I know you caught a pretty big trout.
that red.
I think that redfish that you caught would probably be the biggest fish.
Yeah, that's
What'd you catch that on?
That was
A
my,
bubblegum
my
fluke?
that was my black and blue. What was it? The ribbed worm.
Worm, yeah.
Ribbed worm.
Yeah.
This
Eric
guy,
had one bait that
we were
was just
catching
slaying
them
them.
on swim baits, on 16th ounce light jig heads to keep it out of the grass. And he has on a 4-pound jig head with a 12-inch power worm
Anchor.
dragging
It was
through
actually a
6
16th ounce.
inches of water and catches this monster redfish.
It was actually a 16th ounce jig too, but Brian doesn't want to believe it because he doesn't want to believe the packaging of where we bought it.
Eric, you
because
were
it's
casting
bigger than the
40
one
feet
he
further
has.
than everybody.
But it says on the package
No way.
16th ounce.
Yeah, well, his is probably made of like bismuth or something. You know,
No.
Yeah.
it's non-toxic.
Makes
He
sense.
caught way too
From
much
Illinois.
grass.
That's all they allow there.
That was an ounce jig head.
Brian's like KC. They love their toxics.
Yeah,
That's right.
they fish the best.
Britney Spears.
Nothing like shooting.
Michael don't even know what that is.
Yes, I do. Come on now.
She has a song called Toxic. It was a pretty popular song.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It was about her hair falling out.
Toxic to her hair.
You ever seen the pictures?
Oh, I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
It fell out.
we y'all
she
caught
cut
trout, and the interesting thing about trout is that trout don't preserve well. They don't freeze very good. You need to cook them pretty quick. And if you're not from the coastal area, specifically the Gulf Coast and lower Atlantic, a speckled trout is not actually a salmonid. It is a croaker.
What's
So
with
you're
that?
informing Mark. So again here, right?
He's not going to
keep
believe
mentioning
me.
that this is trout, but it's actually not a grouped.
Yeah.
Why is it called a trout? What is?
I don't
I've been
know.
wondering
Probably because
all
it's
week.
spotted up. See, here's the thing that happens through colonization throughout the 15, 16, 17s. People came over from Europe, different places, right? Spain, Portugal, France, Great Britain, and they have these things that they identify at home with, and they don't know that there's a whole new world out there. So they go into this place and they start naming things after the thing they saw. That's how pronghorn antelope are called antelope, because
I got you.
why on earth, why are Indians called Indians? They're not from
Which
India.
trout was the first trout?
So the first
Probably the
trout
speckled
would be
trout, right?
German brown.
a brown trout.
Okay.
That would be what the Europeans would call a trout, because they were sea-run browns that are also kind of an Atlantic salmon, but different. And so they have
They're all the same.
yeah, they all have spots.
They're
on
all
them.
trout.
Yeah, they're all trout. That's right.
It's like marlin, right? There's no difference in blue, black, stripe.
It's a
white.
marlin.
It's just a marlin. Just
Yeah.
it's like a yellow, brown, chocolate, and black labs. Same thing.
That's for sure the same thing. Yeah, a dog, circus dog.
Circus dogs.
But yeah, that's why they're called trout.
Gotcha.
It's just like there's like a perch, or what's another one? Brim.
Yellow.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, we call
Bluegill.
bluegills brim.
Oh.
But brim are actually pretty specific to Europe. But anyways, that's why they're called that. Anyways, so we cooked trout one night for supper.
We cooked
Way to go, Brian.
quite a bit of fish.
We did. We ate a lot of fish.
I don't
on
know
this
if you
trip.
ever got to say, but it's actually a croaker.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a species, which is interesting to me.
You can't
Everything
get this guy
except for
started on this
flounder
stuff.
that y'all caught this week are croakers. So a red drum is closely related, which is a whole nother deep dive we can talk about later. But they are classified as croakers. So
Like
a
frogs?
trout, a croaker
Like
would be. I wonder what differentiates something as a croaker. I would think it has something to do with their otolith or whatever the ear bone's called, because they can make that thing. Yeah.
Sorry, catfish croakers?
No,
Catfish
they're not
can do that
croakers.
too.
Yeah, that's with their jaw.
Is it?
I don't know. Sounded good.
That would be
Say it
something Casey would
confidently and
know,
happy.
though.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but they do drum kind of.
Yeah, so black drum, freshwater drum, true croakers, speckled trout, sand trout, red
Whiting.
drum, whiting. That is correct. Which Gulf kingfish is what that's actually called. No one calls them that though. But yeah, those are all croakers,
So you catch something, it's a croaker.
pretty much.
Cool.
Except for a flounder.
Right.
Which, funny enough, I figured out last night by looking on the iNaturalist app that flounders are closely related to barracudas, according to their order. Come over from their families. Their family. Y'all know that how classifications work of animals. So kingdom, phylum, order, family, genus, or class, genus, species. Kind, I got that backwards. But kind people come over from Germany and Spain. That's how you know the order of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a lie.
That's right. That's right. It is a lie. But it's just a way to remember things. Anyways, we cooked the croakers
2 nights in a row.
2 nights in a row. We had a little sample first night, and
what did we
then
make? Burgers and
burgers and
fried?
croaks. Yeah.
Amazing.
Give them the tip, the fish fry tip.
The fish fry tips.
Yep, the hot tip. No.
Is this specific? Or
Yeah,
Yeah,
you,
specific
you have a
It's
tip.
cool.
You like
Yeah.
to use a certain fish fry.
It's Wow, I'm way too tired. I can't
It's
remember.
Louisiana blue or something
That's
like that,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yep. Louisiana seasoned blue fish fry. It's,
Blue is not in the name; it's the color of the bag.
It's the
Yeah.
color of the bag.
And it is tasty.
It
good.
is,
It's
with lemon,
Yeah.
and it'll be the greatest. It is really good.
it's very
Very
good. You ain't got to do
tasty.
nothing but dredge it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is already seasoned.
We
to
didn't make
perfection.
any fish this week at this house that didn't taste pretty good.
Golly,
all
we
good.
didn't. We
Yeah.
ate some good food, man.
We did, man. We
Three
did.
nights. We've been here for how many nights?
4.
We had 3 nights of fish.
5. Yeah, we had 3 nights of fish. It's pretty good. So here in the last evening, we've had, or what we kind of just gathered around and partook of was the surf and turf, like we were joking about a while ago. I do believe that we need to talk about the turf a little bit, and then we'll talk about the preparation of those two
I
things.
like that partook word a lot.
You like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Partook.
Yeah.
Is that how you spell that?
That's how I do, I
I
think.
like that. I like
Yeah.
the word took and tooker. I like those words a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the surf portion.
No, the turf portion.
Turf portion, sorry. The turf portion. You and I are sitting in the area, wherever area we were in. I can't remember.
51, I think.
Yeah, area, Unit 51. We were under a mesquite tree, and we were on the shady side again one morning. I think we'd had maybe a close encounter with a buck, didn't pan out or something, and then we're kind of sitting there. It's like 8:45. You look over and you're like, "Dadgummit, there's a Nilgai kind of coming this way," and he's coming fast. So I had already shot a buck the day before, so I had my bow in case like a bunch of Nilgai came by and we got to flinging arrows at them or whatever. But my bow was sitting there with the quiver on, nothing knocked up, and yours was ready to go. You were the shooter.
I was ready to kill something.
That morning, and I was the camera guy, and so I was really working hard on making a good video and getting all the what we call B-roll and all that. Just helping to tell the story. And you're like, this thing's coming. Well, it ends up coming on my side. It's going to end up coming on my side. And so you're just like, hey, this thing's coming this way. We kind of like made this plan to move or whatever to kind of, because it was going to be on the downwind side of us. So we knew we had to push, downwind to make sure it didn't get our wind before we could get a shot at it.
And we kind of believed that we wanted to get as close as we could because that's what you do with archery equipment.
Yeah.
So we thought
Yeah.
we might need to gain some ground. It's again that make moves type hunting.
Yeah. So our ambush is not going to work exactly like we want it to, so we have to make a move to make sure we don't get winded and get a shot. And so, excuse me, I'm tired. So we push down like 10 yards, and we see him, and he's, in a hole in between the brush or whatever, and he's looking, and then he keeps on, and so we make another move. Or actually, as we leave the first spot, you're like, hey, grab your bow. He's on your side. I'll grab the camera. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't expect to get a shot at this thing because it just doesn't happen very often when like this,
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, I'll grab my bow, And so I do. And there's a very kind gesture that you did because we moved about a total of 15 or 20 yards, and all of a sudden he's like in our lap, and he heard us or something, but he's just giraffe necking. I mean, just looking hard, high head.
Tell the folks about Nilgai if they haven't ever
So
seen
if you've never
one.
seen a Nilgai antelope, it's this particular one was a big bull, and he's got to weigh like close to 400 pounds. He was huge. And they have two, like, basically a 10 or 11 inch spike would be a giant. So they got two of those on each side, or one on each side. So they got two total, and they're just straight spikes. So they're not like impressive horned critters, but they are like super muscular and like. I mean, they are some of the most muscular looking animals out there.
They're very pretty too.
They are. They got lots of colors.
The bulls go like as young, they're kind of red, And then as they grow in maturity, they turn colors, and they're called a blue bull whenever they're a fully mature bull. And this one was full blue.
Blue, gray, black, and all the colors in between. And then, like, they have these weird just white marks and colorations and spots on them and stuff. They also have a beard that looks a lot like a turkey beard and feels like one, too. And it comes off the front of their neck right in the middle. It's
Spikes and turkey beards, you got him fired up, dude.
I'm telling you. So
What do these things eat?
they eat anything green, I think.
That's what it looked like.
Anything?
They
Like they eat a yucca?
No.
I don't know. You don't think they would?
I mean, they might, but I didn't see him eating that yucca. Dude, those yuccas are dangerous. I have got 5 yucca holes in me. One of them is in my temple.
The whole side of your head was swollen.
Dude,
It
I'm telling you,
was.
if you ever if you hadn't grabbed one of those ones that's growing like a tree and tried to break the yucca point, I'm not kidding you. You could take one and put it on the end of a spear, and you could throw it through or into a Nilgai and kill it. I
Those
have
things
no
are
doubt.
Interesting.
It's
no
not. It's like no other yuccas I've messed with.
Yeah.
Most yuccas are kind of limber.
Yeah.
These
They are.
things, and like you operate this way when you go through the woods. I'm used to pushing through stuff. You don't push through these. They are immobile.
Yeah, they're hard.
Yes, they are very hard. And also, they make a lot of noise when they are dried out. The other day, I was walking by one and I had my GoPro hanging off the side of my bag, kind of like, to be able to capture things with that. And like my GoPro drugged this yucca. And I thought that the yucca was eating me, dude. Like, it scared the crap out of me.
Oh, he flipped out, dude. He doesn't get scared of things easily. And he was right in front of me.
It was in my ear hole, I was like, ah!
Like all the dead yucca leaves, when they die, they fold down, and there's just like layers of them. Well, it scraped it, and it was like right beside him, freaked him out.
Spooky.
But yeah, so they also have like a little bit of a mane, but they're built a lot like a horse meets like they have a kind of a weirdly long neck. So almost, I call them giraffes, but
They're
I
built like
to,
hyenas, kind of.
They are. They got a low back end and a super tall, high front end. They have like a big hump, like in their spine, between their shoulders. So like almost like a hog or something like that. And then when they're just like relaxed, and the blue bulls are like just head down, straight out in front of them, like either browsing or like dog and doze or whatever.
Thoracic
Doze.
Ridge, I believe, is what that's called.
Yeah, yeah. So they have a Jurassic Park on their back. But they, when they're just like relaxed and their heads out from distance, they look huge. And we were calling them rhinos the whole time.
Dude,
'cause
they look
like rhinos.
bigger at 1,000 yards than they do at 40.
It's wild.
Like when they're way off, they look like they might flip a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're huge.
But anyway, this bull catches us or hears us or whatever, and I'm not going to drag the story out too long, but basically we do have a stare down at like 50, and I'm ranging him with KC's rangefinder, and I'm hitting 51, 51, 50, and I'm like, okay. And so I put it down for a second, real slow, and we're just looking at each other. And real slow. And so when I pull it back up a little bit later to go range him again, we're still staring at each other. And I hit him a couple times, and like one of them was a 50, and the other two were like 78 and 80. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I thought this bull's in range, And so I'm like asking KC, like, is he 50? Does 50 sound right? And he didn't want to tell me because he didn't want to be the guy that's wrong, So he just like doesn't say anything the first like 3 times I ask him, And finally he was like, yeah, he looks 50. And so I was just having trouble with a rangefinder, and so I end up ranging this bush in front of him at 38.
I don't mean to interrupt your story again, but since you brought me into that part of my problem is I don't know, because these are such a weird animal. They're a weird shape, and they're huge. So when you say, does he look 50, I'm thinking he's somewhere between 40 and 80.
Yeah.
Like,
that's where I was at too. Is like, because to me, I was hitting him at 50, but then when I hit him 78 and 80, I was like
well,
being
maybe.
very still. I was like, well, maybe, he's a huge animal. Like, maybe he looks like he's 50, but he actually is 80 because he's just big, And so I was worried about that. Well, I end up ranging the bush in front of him at 38 on the front end of the bush. And so he goes behind the bush, and we like stand up because I think he's going to walk out, and I'm going to try to get a shot over this kind of mesquite limb or whatever. Well, he doesn't come out for a second because he probably heard us stand up, right? Well, after a second, I was like, okay, let's just sit back down if he's going to stall out right there. So we sit back down in the grass, and he comes out the other side finally, and he's like pretty close. He's getting closer. And I was like thinking, man, he's got to be 45, 40, something like that. And Casey goes, he's probably closer to 40 now or whatever. He says that bush is 38. And I was like, when he said that, I knew the rangefinder was working, and I knew he was close. So long story short, he comes out and gets in this mesquite limb. There's a mesquite limb that's in front of me at like probably less than 10 yards. And there's a big hole in it. And so I'm like, I'm going to shoot him through that hole right there. And so he has to work over a little bit further. I'm pretty sure he might be winding us at this point. He starts to get really high-necked. And so he gets to my gap. I draw back. And when I draw back, I can put my 40 on him, and I can see his vitals, but there's not much like headroom. So I start leaning over because there's a bigger hole in the upper space of this hole as I lean over, and I start to run into KC. So I'm kind of affecting the footage and all that, and also like knocking points and everything. But I had to lean pretty far, shoot, and he jumps the string, and it hits him spine. He goes straight down. And I was like, holy smokes.
Unbelievable.
Dude. It was frontal, when you think about it on Nilgai, if you shoot frontal good left and right, you've got like 3 foot of margin there, if you don't hit them in the spine pretty much, if you hit them in the neck and you don't hit them in the spine, they're probably going to survive after breaking a Nilgai down. I mean, the hide is so thick. So muscular. But anyway, I couldn't believe it, but he just goes straight down. And so we run over there. I knock another arrow, trying to get a shot. And you'll have to see all this footage, but I end up finally getting him killed. And it's like a really intense moment. If you've watched the mule deer hunt from this year that I had, it's a lot like that. It's just like a super emotional moment. And, I said it before a little bit, but like not a whole lot on the podcast at least. I mean, this is something I've wanted to do since I was like so young, like was shooting Nilgai bull. It's something when you grow up in Texas, like you hear about these things that exist in your state that you can shoot, and they just live in such a small space, and it's something you really want to do. It's cool. It's like nothing else you can do in North America. And I've wanted to do this for a long time, and I didn't think I was going to get the chance when that bull started working our way, and KC was just like, offered it up, so I was really thankful that I got to do that to him, and it was just a really cool moment, and we ended up working our tails off the rest of the day to get the meat out.
We did. It was awesome.
There was so much meat, dude. He's so solid.
It was wild. I'm glad you were the shooter because I'd have missed.
I feel like I missed it.
It is kind of a valid point to talk about here because you took this thing down with equipment that is 100% capable. Let me put it that way first. But some people might poo-poo on. You shoot about a 500 grain arrow, right?
Yep.
With that
arrow's actually just less than 500.
498 or something like that, right? Yeah. And with a 3-blade mechanical.
The biggest. One of the biggest.
We like them. Mm-hmm. They kill stuff dead. And I like to say, you shoot them in the soft stuff, they're going to die. Well, you didn't shoot him in the soft stuff. Shot a really hard thing.
I hit him
he still died.
In the chesty neck.
And, up in that stuff. But it's still more than enough. Like, it was enough force for you to shove a broadhead into the vertebra of a Nilgai so far that you could not get it out. We tried to pull it out whenever we were cleaning him. Mm-hmm. By the way, if you're a neck roast person, Nilgai are for you, okay? That's a big old neck roast on that thing. So we took the neck roast off and found the broadhead in there and could not remove it.
Yeah.
That's how hard it stuck in there.
Yep.
So, like, I'm not trying to tell you what you need to shoot. you people out there, but I am telling you, like, just because your setup doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work for other people. Everybody, works differently. And I think in this situation, the forgiveness of a mechanical in a less than ideal shooting scenario, and by no means is 500 light, but it's lighter than some. That gave you the window to shoot through that mesquite. I'm serious. I don't know if I could have shot through that window because I know the way my bow shoots, and I don't think I could have taken that shot. So I'm glad you were the shooter in that situation for sure, because it definitely worked out well.
Yeah, it did. It was just a dream come true, man. Something I've wanted to do for forever.
It's pretty awesome, man.
I decided not to catch any fish today, so I had a reason to come back down here. But
tasty treat because we got to surf and turf it tonight, as they say, right? We did Nilgai backstrap steaks, which is simpler the better, right? Just a little bit of seasoning and some butter, and they were delicious. And then we did redfish on the half shell, which was also delicious. Thank you guys for providing the redfish. I caught one piggy perch this afternoon, a very large one, and decided to let him go because it wouldn't be near as good as a redfish. But it just really made for an immaculate closing to really what's potentially the best element trip of the year.
yeah,
I mean, it's hard to say. We've been super blessed.
maybe even all time.
Yeah, for real. Throughout this hunting season, with all kinds of great encounters, cool stuff, good health. You can't beat it. But this was just really, really cool. I mean, what you were talking about, Brian? You were talking about how you just couldn't have envisioned that you could hammer the fish like this, right?
It's hard to envision I think whenever you plan a trip, you always envision it going good. But usually it's a lot harder than you envision. I think this trip it just went as I envisioned. It was just a dream come true. You always dream of wade fishing and in 20 inches of crystal clear water catching 28-inch trout with some of your best friends, and that's what happened for 5 days.
Are y'all best friends?
No, he was.
That's what he just said.
He looked right at Michael.
What about David?
Yeah, no. But yeah, you always envision a trip going good, and man, this one will be hard to beat. This was a really good trip, and we had a lot of fun, and we caught a lot of fish.
Jay,
Yes, sir.
you're basically from Canada.
Yeah.
Was this just like a weird thing for you?
Feels
to do?
like I'm on Mars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
figured.
The desert with crystal clear water. It's like, where am I?
Yeah.
If you had to marry a girl from Ohio or South Texas, which one are you picking?
Ohio or South Texas?
I
Careful
know,
with
Like
which
South
one
Texas
There's only
here,
one
South
right answer.
Texas?
Yeah.
Better be careful.
Ohio.
Probably Ohio.
Really?
Probably
For
Ohio.
For sure, dude.
It's a whole different language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Hey, what you made up another word this week? What was it?
Oh, I don't even know. I make them up all
Oh,
the time.
poison ivy. That was
Poison ivy. That's not making it up. That's just not talking.
There was another one too. I think I can't remember. Poison ivy was one though.
That's funny. We were talking about rumps. What were we talking about rumps for the other day?
Whoa.
Like a road bump or something like
Yeah,
that?
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was.
that was
You
going
get
somewhere
real
else.
tired on trips like this because you're just blowing and going, and you end up slurring your words and combining things and doing all this stuff. Yeah, I called something a rump the other day. I can't remember why, but it was pretty funny.
I said I got boot in my water one day.
Yeah,
You did.
yeah, you did.
That is on video.
On video.
Eric also peed on GoPro one time.
I did that.
A head mount GoPro. Did you go in and delete that, or what happened to that file?
I'm pretty sure we still got it.
We still got it. It's just
Can you see
Extremely
it?
pixelated.
No.
Oh,
Better look through.
it's because it's
Eric's
wide angle.
footage.
I'm definitely not looking. make Michael do that.
Yeah.
This video needs to be reviewed. a couple of
Well,
times.
on that, I think we've got some packing up to do because we are leaving in the morning to head back home and pretty much prepare. It's a reload situation. Prepare for the next hunt. Got a lot of stuff going on. Who knows? We might even have somebody going out on a whitetail hunt this week. Drop that little bomb in there. Who would that be? Oh,
would that
we got to
be?
think about that.
What?
Who would that be?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Are you Mo?
I would like to be Mo.
Okay, good. So, anyways, guys, look forward to the video from this. I don't know how this all comes together. We might do some catch, clean, cook type stuff. We're going to show you how we did the trout. Show you how we did. See, I told you we can't talk. Show you how we did the redfish. You can't really release the Nilgai, so we caught them for sure.
Yeah.
We might show you how to cook that. But there'll be some of this stuff either coming out on the Element channel. Who knows? You might even see this on Meat Eater main channel at some point in time too. So be aware of all that happening. I hope you're still able to get out and have fun this time of year. I know if you're from like Michael's home country, it's just gray and white up there right now. So maybe
beautiful.
do people hardwater fish where you're from?
What?
Like
waterfish?
ice fish
Not in Ohio.
No.
Lake Erie doesn't freeze over anymore.
anymore?
Yeah, like
Oh,
my
you're a global
dad.
warming guy, are you?
There we go.
Oh, here we go.
My dad used to ice fish all the time, but
Yeah.
not anymore.
Gotcha.
Hasn't been in like 15 years.
Yeah.
PG Dub. Pre-global warming.
We used to ice fish
Yeah,
ponds.
exactly.
Yeah. How'd you do?
Not very well.
Yeah. Were you using that worm?
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably why.
We just started playing hockey.
Well, remember, guys, if you can't ice fish where you're at, either go south and you can fish the coast, or go further north and you'll find some ice. And remember, this is your element.
Live in it.
Hey guys, turkey season is in full swing right now, and if you are planning on getting after it, make sure to pick up some Meat Eater Phelps turkey calls to stuff into the old turkey vest or into your fanny pack right now. I carry a few different things. I like to use mouth calls, and I like to use pot calls. Mouth calls or diaphragms, I like them because it gives you hand-free calling, meaning when you're working a bird up close, you can have your gun on your knee, finger on the trigger, ready to roll, and still be making turkey sounds. I like pot calls. I just like pot calls. I enjoy calling with a pot call. Whatever direction you go, including a box call, which I don't personally use too much, but they're fun and great, and I started out with them. Yanni, on the other hand, one of my main turkey hunting buddies, he loves box calls. And what's funny is I'll now and then look to him and give him the look that means get out your box call and find us a turkey. So it's not that I don't like them. I just have Yanni use his. Then I don't have to carry it. Go to Phelps Game Calls. Get calls that are made in the USA and get calls that'll get them close. Find yours at phelpsgamecalls.com today.